Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me see here. Let me see how charged my. Okay. So I hope everybody is having a great day so far. My day is wonderful because I woke up and I'm still sober and living with sobriety. Today's meeting is going to be a little different. I know Thursday I was talking about my story, so I figured I would let it be open so people can ask me questions about their their sobriety or you know about how I got sober and staying sober. So it's an open meeting, in other words. Anyways, let me say the serenity prayer and we'll get with the meeting. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Anyway, so being that it's an open meeting, the only thing that is in the description is you can ask questions if you feel okay with being in the chat. All right, step one. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made the decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Taught through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So for right now, while I'm waiting for questions, I am going to look through the steps in Traditions book and see the highlighted spots that I have done in this one. I don't know if I have in this book yet. So, and I gave the other books away. I do have marking highlighted in the big book and stuff. So, let me see. I don't think I did any in any traditions. So, anyways, yeah, I learned as I've been in AA for almost 11 years. My sobriety date is November 15th, 2014. And I had got sober before that. And I decided, like a normal alcoholic would, oh, I haven't drank for a year. I can just go out and drink again. And mind you, this is before I found AA and gotten the help I've gotten with staying sober. Anyway, so I went back out drinking after the first time I quit. I not drank for a year. And so I didn't know that I needed to apologize for things that were on me that I had done. Because, I mean, I honestly do remember plenty of things from my drinking days. But I set myself up after that first year of sobriety, and I thought, all right, I've been sober for a year. I'm going to go ahead and have a drink. That was a bad move, a really bad move, because had I gone to AA, maybe I wouldn't have done that. Maybe I would have gotten it the first time I tried to quit. I mean, so I went through the withdrawals twice. It was not fun. I can guarantee you that. Not fun at all. I was sick. I had the shakes. I had all the weird things going on when you get sober. And anyways, I had decided to go ahead and buy some alcohol before I drank it. It had been in my fridge for like 4 months, 5 months. And hey sis, so I went ahead and I drank one of those, and I had 6 of them. So the first night I was all right with just drinking one, and then the second night I was like, I gotta have a drink. And that's the alcoholic mind, is the night before I told myself only one, but after that one, it opened the floodgates for another year and a half, I want to say. And so when we get into the part of the book that says that the pink cloud and all of that, I was in that stage when I thought that I could go ahead and go drink again. Bad mistake. But I drank for most of my 30s, and well, it all began in my 30s anyways. Because before I drank like a normal person would drink, I drink here and there. It wasn't a daily thing. Then I got to where I had to have it every single day. And when you're in an addictive state, which is what it was and what it is, I didn't care how I got it, where I got it, who I got it from. If it was a drink, I was taking it. But of course, I was always by myself. I didn't have anybody with me when I went out the second time. When I went out, after I got sober for that year, I drank a lot by myself. Um, and then moving away a bunch. So we did some hosting for the state, and I was drinking at that time. And mind you, there's rattlesnakes everywhere, and my drunk brain, who didn't have no care in the world if I got bit by a snake or not. Um, one funniest thing that I do remember from that, well, not only my husband had told me one of the times, but so I was at another camp host site drinking a beer with them, and I was walking. And so in that campground there was 3 loops. Oh, so she's on the same stuff probably that Copper was on. Hopefully it takes care of it and it stays away, because anyway, so um where was I? Oh, the Snake River. Um it got dark. That's what Copper had. We didn't have the test to tell us what it was. Anyways, um yeah, walking back to camp in the dark. Um I had a flashlight and I was using the flashlight. Now, mind you, my husband is like watching me coming down the hill because we were on a slope down in to our loop. And he's like, turn off your flashlight. You're shining it in people's tents and uh whatever. And like people use their flashlight to go to the bathroom and they shine it in tents and stuff. So I don't know why it was a big deal, but it was apparently. So I turned the flashlight off. I was doing fine until I turned that light off and down I went. Man, I busted my knee open. But I'm a klutz. Really a klutz. But you get me drunk and it's even worse. So, I mean, duh. But anyway, so when I found AA, I learned that making your amends and working your steps every day, it gets easier. And I've gotten to where I make my amends not too long after whatever happens, happens. Sometimes it takes me many years, but um, some I have not made yet. Um, well, really, they're not for me to make; they're for the other person to make. But, anyways, um, yeah. Let me go grab my big book. I'll be right back in just a second. Oh, I'm back. Hi, Tony. So let's see what I highlighted first in the big book, or marked, anyways. Because I don't know. That's not good. You need to get better. I'd like to come and see you, but I don't want to get sick. So I'll start off with Bill's story with what he had. Here lies a Hampshire grenadier who caught his death drinking cold small beer. A good soldier is not near forgot, whether he dieth by musket or by pot. Huh. That's an ominous warning, is what it says, which he failed to heed. 22 and a veteran of foreign wars, I went home at last. I fancied myself a leader, for had not the men of my battery given me a special token of appreciation, my talent for leadership, I imagined, would place me at the head of vast enterprises which I would manage with the utmost assurance. So, a lot of the guys and ladies that were in the wars, some of them were only 18 years old or younger, and a lot of them did drink. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them did. And they could buy cigarettes, they could buy alcohol on base, from what I understand, anyways, from growing up in military families. Um, Chapter 2 in the big book is there is a solution. So it says, we of Alcoholics Anonymous know thousands of men and women who were once just as hopeless as Bill. Nearly all have recovered. They have solved the drink problem. We are average Americans, all sections of this country and many of its occupations are represented, as well as many political, economic, social, and religious backgrounds. We are people who normally would not mix, but there exists among us a fellowship of friendliness and an understanding which is insociably wonderful. And I can vouch for that. It is wonderful that we have that place that we can go and not be judged for our issue with the alcohol or for things that we need to make amends for. And, and this is just the beginning of it. So, I mean, and then it says, we are like passengers of a great liner. The moment after rescue from shipwreck, when camaraderie, joyousness, and democracy pervade the vessel from steerage to captain's table. Unlike the feelings of the ship's passengers, however, our joy in escape from disaster does not subside as we go our individual ways. The feelings of having shared in a common peril is one element in the powerful cement which binds us, but that it in itself would never have held us together as we are now joined. Because when we go to AA and we start working on us, ourselves, in other words, we can, once we start doing that, we can now put ourselves in a group of people just like us and feel safe with talking about our issues, and we have that common space where the outside stuff is the outside stuff. It doesn't come inside our meetings. Um, because we can't throw politics and all of those other worldly issues into our safe space of being understanding to each other, if that makes sense. Because we all have that common thing of the alcohol that binds us. Our stories are similar, not the same, but we all have those same battles of I can't stop. I can't give it up. When you start doing, at least for me anyways, it helped me realize that there is a life without alcohol. There is a better path with sobriety, and I'm finding my highlighted spots now. Trying to go back to some of what I've marked in here. I know there's more. Yeah, there's a lot more I have marked in this book. But every time I read it, I mark more and more in it because um, sometimes, like the first few times you read something, it really doesn't jump out at you. But eventually, you start to see those things that jump off the page that gets your feelings into your work of sobriety and living sober. And this reading other stories helps you to put into perspective of ways that this has helped others and maybe help you to understand of what you need to think about and ways to go about making it better for yourself and work your program to benefit you. And not everybody gets it the first time, the second time. Maybe it takes you a long time. You don't know. But keep coming to the meetings, and it does help. It helps a lot. And so the first thing that I see right now that I highlighted, because I probably didn't have a highlighter when I needed one, because there's a lot of stuff in these books that I would highlight. But first one is he sold himself short, and it's on page 258 in the big book. Mine is the uh, fourth edition. It says, but he found there was a higher power that had more faith in him than he had in himself. Thus, AA was born in Chicago. Um, I believe there is a higher power. I always have. There's something bigger than me. And that's what I tell my sponsees. They may not be religious and such, because not everybody is. And so that's what I always tell them. Just think of a higher power. I mean, you don't have to believe in, you know, certain faiths or anything like that. But to have a different place in your mind for an outlet to like give it away, just give it to something, it helps. And it helps a lot. um, that's why when I wrote down mine, the first time I did my fourth step, I wrote it down and then I burned it. Um, so I made amends for those things. And the things that weren't for me to make amends for, I just accepted that, it's gone forever, but I'll never forget it. And that's how I dealt with it. Um, and of course, I talked to my sponsors, two of them. But anyway, and then the next thing I have is he said he had finally learned that drinking was a fatal illness made up of an allergy plus an obsession, and once the drinking had passed from habit to obsession, we were completely hopeless and could look forward only to spending the balance of our lives in mental institutions or offing. And that's true, because when we get into that obsession, that's all we think about. And I can vouch for that, because the first time when I actually became the alcoholic that I knew I would probably be, that I did not want to be, um, it was obsession. I couldn't not have that drink because, number one, I hated the shakes. I hated that part of the hangover, hands down. I did not like shaking, but then I shook all the time, and it can be fatal. And my oldest son, tried to tell me that, and I didn't want to listen. But at that time, I was just getting into the alcoholic that I had become, or that I would have become. And it it was hard to go through the withdrawals on the first time, and The first time I had decided that I was going to go and speak with my doctor. And so I did that, and I was put on medication for depression. Yes. And then came along the anxiety. And so I had quit drinking, and so I was taking my meds, and then I discovered, oh, I could take those and use that to chase it with. That was even worse. And so I had to completely shut that off. I had to stop drinking and just go on with my mental health medication and all of those things, and going to the doctor regularly at that point in my life. And it did help, but like I said, after a year I went back out. It was like nothing. And it wasn't, I didn't have to start all over. Shoot, the first time I drank after not drinking for a year, I had one, and then the next day I was down at the gas station buying the liquor, because in Washington at that time you could do that. So hey, that's what I did. And then we locked the keys out of my friend's truck, and we were stuck. But anyways, the AA is not a plan for recovery that can be finished and done with. It is a way of life, and the challenge contained in its principle is great enough to keep any human being striving for as long as he lives. We cannot outgrow this plan. As arrested alcoholics, we must have a program for living that allows for limitless expansion. Keeping one foot in front of the other is essential for maintaining our arrestment. So, in other words, we're always arrested from alcohol. We need to just leave it. Don't touch it. Don't think about it. Um, just recently, I had dreams of drinking, and that terrifies me more than anything right now, because that is the last place that I want to go back to. Never do I want to go back to that person. That person was an a-hole. That person was not very nice to anybody, even myself. Because at that point, I didn't care. I had alcohol. That's all I cared about. Now there is a sense of belonging, of being wanted and needed and loved. In return for a bottle and a hangover, we have been given the keys of the kingdom. Amen to that. That is the best part. Because now we control ourselves with the books, the group, the people of these meetings, of every part of AA. It helps you through your life to stay sober. That's why you read it, and keep reading it and keep working it. Never stop. It's not a stoppable thing. You have to continue to do it. And some people don't want to commit to keep doing something. And I learned that if I'm going to stay sober, I have to keep doing my program. I have to keep reading these books. I have to keep sharing my story and being a positive thing from AA and sharing it with people and having these meetings here online. I was scared crapless when I first started doing these meetings. I didn't know how people were going to receive having somebody talk to them about sobriety and AA and all of that. I figured, nah, it ain't gonna help nobody. People are gonna be mean, and I can tell you I was really wrong. Really, really wrong. And when I first got my first job, and that was after I first started AA. I mean, like maybe a month after I started AA, I started coming out of the fear of telling people that I was an alcoholic, a recovering alcoholic. And um, I have the rooms to thank for that. My home group. Um, I found a sponsor and I was able to tell my boss that I am a recovering alcoholic and I'm freshly new at recovering. And so it shocked me when I told them that. And she looked at me and said, a lot of people drink when they're camping. And if there's any alcohol bottles or cans that you feel you can't pick up or that you just shouldn't pick up, leave it. Somebody else will pick it up. Um, they didn't want me to have that trigger. And that made it to where I felt safe enough to tell people that I am a recovering alcoholic. And people do understand. I told plenty of my campers that I was a recovering alcoholic. And a lot of times I got told I'm recovering too. And that helped to get me to understand that I wasn't alone. And there were a lot of other people like me. And another one of my coworkers at that time became one of my sponsors. She was 35 years sober, I think, at that time. Um, she just passed a few years ago. I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago. And she told me always to use my voice, and she helped me to find my voice. And I started using that with everyone. Um, I started talking at meetings. Um, my first chairing meeting was my first birthday, sobriety birthday. And my sponsor started a new trend at that time that if it was your birthday, you had to chair the meeting. I chaired that meeting, scared out of my mind, but I still chaired that meeting. And then I started not having a problem with reading in front of people at the group, talking about my week or my trigger that would set me into thinking about having that drink. And that's all in my first year. The pink cloud time is 2 years at least. That's what it says in the books. And so I had that pink cloud, y'all. I couldn't go into the store and go down the alcohol aisle. Nope. I avoided it. I stopped listening to music that had the word of any alcohol in it. I stopped going around people that were drinking. the time that I really started going and doing my work was when people were off exploring the campground or the surrounding areas, and the campground was empty so I could clean the bathrooms. That's all I did. I cleaned the campsites and the bathrooms after people were gone, so that way I didn't have to be around that stuff. And it got easier. Then the next job I had, I ended up with a new sister, and it's because I said that I was a recovering alcoholic to a boss. And there was other people standing there, and like I said, I don't care who knows. Everybody can know for all I care, because that's what I am. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and hopefully I'm a recovering alcoholic for the rest of my life. And I say it like that because I don't want to go back out. I can't say that I never will because I don't know the future. But my best friend from my second job has been recovering for longer than me, I believe. And she has a lot on her plate. And we bonded over our children. And mind you, her kids are younger than mine. Mine are adults. And hers are still in school. But I was able to help her through a hard time. And that's how you make friends and become family, is being there for somebody that really needs you at that time. And so she's become a person that I reach out to when I have a problem. I have my sister I reach out to when I have a problem. And of course, I have my guy friends that are in sobriety as well that I reach out to and talk to them about sobriety and how they're doing. Um, and I don't do it on a daily basis, but people are busy. And when you learn that in AA, you really have to understand that, yeah, people do get busy and life gets crazy and all of those things. And, you know, you gotta live life on life's terms. And that's what I try to do every day. So, anyways, I'm going to read the daily reflection and then let you guys be on your way for today. Tony, I hope you get feeling better. Newest version. Oh, got a newest version. Okay. September 23rd, 2022. I was an exception. He, Bill W., I was just reading some of his stuff, said to me gently and simply, "Do you think that you are one of us?" Alcoholics Anonymous, page 413, third edition. During my drinking life, I was convinced I was an exception. I thought I was beyond petty requirements and had the right to be excused. I never realized that the dark counterbalance of my attitude was the constant feeling that I did not belong. At first in AA, I identified with others only as an alcoholic. What a wonderful awakening for me it has been to realize that if human beings were doing the best they could, then so was I. all of the pains, confusions, and joys they feel are not exceptional, but part of my life just as much as anybody's. Amen to that. Anyways, all right. I love you guys and be safe out there. And remember, help the next one. You never know what their struggle is, and um, you never know when that person might just be needing a smile or a hello or how was your day. So please be kind and don't judge by the cover, because everybody's going through something. And with that, I love you guys, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day and a wonderful rest of your week. I will be live again on Thursday evening, hopefully. So I love you guys, and be safe out there, and grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I love you guys. Be nice.